You basically know what this is about.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
about
yeah.
chill talk about drums and art, not
Yes.
just drums. Drums and life.
And toys.
What kind of toys?
Many different types of toys.
Okay, so you got all the Star Wars stuff from the
Have that,
70s.
of course.
Do you have an 8080?
I have two different AT-AT drivers. One that works, you know. But anyway.
You have from the Kenner Toys
Yeah.
series. I have the original one. It's with the lasers on the chin.
I have that. Tomorrow I'll be in Italy, and a friend of mine is going to bring me some. He's going to bring me a Millennium Falcon and
Holy
some other things. I have no room. Hey everybody, this is Charlie Benante with Anthrax, and I am here to talk about everything that I love.
When you watch other drummers, maybe those you have never seen before, what really floats your boat and what sinks your boat?
The thing that I've always been attracted to with other drummers is the way that they will approach drumming in general, or the way that they would approach a fill during a measure, and how they come into it and how they come out of it. And I love when it's something that I would have never thought of that. And then it opens up a whole other doorway for me to explore a different type of drumming. For instance, I remember years ago I heard the Dave Matthews Band for the first time. And the first thing that I hear, whenever I listen to music, usually the first thing that I listen to is the drumming. And wow, what is that? That's pretty cool. But anyway, there was a few songs on that first Dave Matthews record that Carter did some things that I was like, whoa, there you go. He just opened up a door for me, and then I kind of went down that door. And to this day, when I go see Dave Matthews, I leave there totally inspired. It's not hard rock, heavy metal drumming. It's a different type of drumming, but yet it can be applied to hard rock and heavy metal drumming. So that's one of the things that I love.
Actually, we have so simple possibilities. You have your two hands and snare, 3 toms, and what you can do with it is so amazing. And then you maybe be playing like 30 years or plus, I don't know. And then there's this one guy and you're like, damn, I have never thought of that.
Never thought of that. and I remember that same type of feeling happened a few years ago with certain drummers that were playing in gospel type of church. Their style of drumming, wow, came out of left field for me. It was totally inspiring as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Gospel stuff is always, they play way too much because usually I'm like, after 2 minutes, I'm like, stop. I need to go practice now. You've done too much, please, next week or something.
Yeah, and like I realized that all drumming stems from some other drummer that started something that they listened to, and then they took it and totally took it to another level. I mean, back in the day when I would go see certain drum clinics and stuff like that, and I would definitely, Tony Williams had certain chops that I hear in gospel drumming, you know. Dennis Chambers especially, he's so quick with his hands, and he was always one of those drummers that I always was like, whoa, that's cool.
Have you seen Billy Billy Cobham?
I've seen Billy. I met Billy Cobham 2 years ago
Oh, wow.
at NAMM, and I was like, oh shit, that's Billy Cobham, and had a good conversation with him. He's another one of those drummers from back when I was growing up. Like, there was a period for me when I was really little that I would just play drums and I never really took it as serious as maybe other people took it at that point, because I was still little at the time. And I was starting to go for drum lessons and everything like that. So I was starting to learn the basic, the rudiments. But for me, like, my mom always tells me that when I was born, I was playing drums. It's the first thing that I ever did. Even before I was talking, walking, I was hitting things. So it's never ended.
Even in the womb, maybe?
In the womb, she said, oh, Jesus, stop with those paradiddles.
Yeah. So what do you enjoy the most when you're playing all by yourself and you don't have to convince anyone, but you're just enjoying what you're doing?
Well, the funny thing about it is, like, when I'm on stage sometimes during a show, I'm all by myself. I kind of zone out, and I just enjoy that primal, feeling that I have inside of just getting up there, and I don't even care sometimes how many people, who's there. I just play and just have a good time. And then as I finish, I just say to myself, yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that, because I try not to let the audience affect me too much, because if I do, then my adrenaline kicks in so much and I tend to maybe speed, but I like to sometimes just focus and just play for myself. I think it's important because I pay attention to what I'm doing more when I do that.
Yeah, that's a very healthy attitude, because I'm one of those rushing drummers. The more people, the more adrenaline, of course, and then the more BPM. So this is why I'm playing to a click track, just to calm me down.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. I find that in the studio, I love the click track, but live, I don't want to play to a click track because I feel it's not live. I feel it's a little inhuman to follow the pulse when the pulse should be here, what I'm following, Well, I do have some intros that I start, but then I will make the BPMs when I start playing. There was some times that we had 2 songs that I had to follow a click for, and when I would start it, I'd be like, oh my God, that's so slow, that can't be right. But it's like, no, it's right. I'm just thinking it's gonna be faster than what it is. So it's like, boop, boop, boop. I'm like, oh God, no. So, dun, 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 it's like, oh shit. Cut the click.
I assume that you have been asked this question a lot of times before, but I want to give you a little bit of context, so maybe I get a different answer this time. I had a discussion with a friend the other day, and we were talking about influences, interpretation, and then we were praising Bela Lugosi's depiction of Dracula. I just realized that day that back then he had no references. I mean, there were maybe some silent movie depictions of Dracula, but you couldn't go to YouTube and check, oh, let's see what he has done with it, that actor has done with it. So now you have the range. You have the range of inspiration and influences. When you were starting, neither the name thrash metal was given, nor was the genre there. So it came from punk and the heavy metal thing.
Yes.
So, but how was it for you back then?
When I was a teenager, I was listening to many, many different types of music still. I was always a Beatles fan. from day one. The Beatles to me were the architects. Everything that's happened after the Beatles happened because of the Beatles. If the Beatles didn't happen, we wouldn't be here probably doing this. Some people may disagree with me, but I would say, no, you're wrong, I'm right. The Beatles were responsible for all of that. After the Beatles came, I got into, of course, the classic 70s rock music of Kiss, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, but I was also huge into the Sex Pistols and the Clash. I loved it, just everything about it I just loved. And then I got into Motorhead and then Iron Maiden, and I would say those two bands were the catalyst for thrash metal. Iron Maiden and Motorhead especially were the bands that I wanted to be in at the time. And then I just always loved punk rock music. So of course, when I got into a band, I wanted to play faster. I wanted to play fast kick drums because I just felt this sound was there, but it wasn't developed yet. Because there was drummers that were playing double kick, and you know, especially in Motorhead, when I first heard the song Overkill, I was just like, whoa, that's fucking awesome. When I first heard Simon Phillips play on the Judas Priest record, Sin After Sin, I was like, whoa, that's awesome. And that's the sound that I wanted to take into the 80s. So when you reference the Bela Lugosi thing, true, Bela Lugosi didn't have anything to draw from except for maybe Max Schreck doing the Nosferatu character, but there was no sound. The best thing about Bela Lugosi was his accent, because then it became synonymous. Dracula would have this type of accent, and everybody would kind of make their own type of Bela Lugosi accent. So in drumming, you're doing the same thing. You're just putting a little piece of you in that thing that some other drummer kind of created. There's this style of beat called blast beats, and I will say that it was, for the first time ever that type of beat was recorded and played on a record, was on this S.O.D. record that we did in 1985. And I'm tired of people not crediting that was the first time. And of course, people perfected it and play it way better, but that was the first time that a blast beat was on record. If you can prove me wrong, but I believe that was the first time. And like I said, other people have mastered it and done it way better, and I never took it any further. That was it. It fit in that song, Milk. And like when we would play it live, the more I played it, the more I started to develop it, a different way of playing it. Because I would always play it with a single kick drum, you know, like that. And I would either reverse it, which I think Paul from Cannibal Corpse played more of that style of blast beat. I would play it either with the ride, or I would play it with the hat, reversing it. When S.O.D. would play more and more shows, I would always develop it and not just do the single kick, I would throw in the double, so it would be like that. And then I discovered that some of the black metal bands later on were doing it in a, like that. So it was being developed even more. And then when I heard the Dimmu Borgir record, Puritanical, whatever, I always forget the title. Yeah. Nick Barker's drumming on that record was, to me, one of those moments where another door opened and he took the blast beat style to a whole other level.
So did it feel fresh back then? That was actually where I wanted to point the question at. Did it feel like you were doing something very new, or was it just, that's our sound?
Well, I remember when that song came out, milk with the blast beat in it. And many people were saying, what are you doing here? What are you doing? And there was a part of me that was like, I can't really tell you what I'm doing. When we would play it, I would always see people watching me play it. And I was just you know, and you'd see them like, okay, you know. And S.O.D didn't play many shows, of course, but when we did play, we played the whole record, you know. And it was never at the same speed that the record was recorded. It was live, and it was just fast. So it was always moving forward.
You have recorded on analog machines, and now there's the digital stuff. So how did the digital world change your approach, playing-wise, maybe in the studio, or maybe even live? And do you miss something, or is it better all the way now?
I love the sound of analog drum recording, like just the way it sounds, that tape saturation. I always felt that the drums sound a bit different when it comes to the difference between analog and digital. Digital has a bit more of a punchier sound to it. Nowadays, it's so much easier to edit drums that way than it was on an analog machine, because you would have to cut the tape, splice it, put it together. Okay, I like this section here. Can we put that with that one? Because I really like that performance, but this part sucks, so can you, you know? And then by the end of it, you'd have pieces of tape and blah, blah, blah. Nowadays, you could just do it digitally, and you could punch in seamlessly without the leakage of a cymbal or something like that. It's just, it's come a long way. And for me personally, like in my studio in my home, I do all the band demos there. I will play drums, guitar, you know, and make a demo and then send it to the guys. Here's the new stuff. What do you know, you like this one? You like, you know? The idea of a song is way easier to come to conception, and then, I'm finished with this idea, and it's come to like reality. And then I can just take that, now it's an MP3, and send it off. We don't all have to be in the same city, in the same place to understand it. They get it, they hear it. This is cool, yeah, when we get together, let's change this or something, you know? So that's the way the band works now. Back in the day, we would have to meet, go into a rehearsal room, and sit there for hours, you know, playing something, which there's a beauty to that too, but there's also a beauty to this new way.
And I think, and even film, now I can shoot whatever I want. It's not that one take. And that's the same with recording analog. I mean, you know, we just have that much of tape, so you better be good now. Now the moment counts.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right about that. And there's also that purist in me that I love listening to music with really good headphones as well, because I want to hear everything that's happening, because sometimes when you listen to it on speakers, you miss some things, little nuances, you know, that come out. So for me, I love that. Oh, yeah, that sounds beautiful. Even last night, I was in my bunk listening to Back in Black with headphones, because of the sound of the record to this day still gives me goosebumps. There's a song, Shoot to Thrill, which is the second song, and there's that breakdown section when it's just Angus playing and Phil, and then Phil starts playing the toms. It's like, and then towards the end of the measure, he starts to lay into the toms even more, and you could hear the microphones like opening up as he pounding it, and the gates are opening, and it just creates this fucking sound that is just, like I said, makes the hair on my arm stand up. So if a record could do that after, when did it come out, 1980? You know, if it could do that after all these years, to me, it's like, I must be a purist because I love that sound, you know? Nobody does that anymore. Nobody takes the time, you know? And the sad part about it too is like, you spend all this time in the studio, we do at least, getting a great sound, getting a great drum sound, getting a great guitar tone, only to have people listening to it on little tiny earbuds. It's like, no, no, no. We want you to listen to it bigger. You know? Of course, I get it. But they try to take away certain things that we've always loved and then maybe label it as, oh, you're getting too old. And it's like, no, I like good quality. I like things that are still good, you know?
Yeah, Grandpa.
Yeah.
Grandpa likes it nice.
It's so stupid when I hear that. It makes them sound ignorant.
When we're talking about being old or getting older, that's always the term, the band has matured or they have grown up, which is for me usually a red flag because it means probably they're boring for me now. Mm-hmm. So how were your first steps in composing drums and what has it become now? Do you still feel like being young and refreshing when you compose drums or play to a guitar?
I never really thought about the age or the generation that I grew up in or the generation that I'm in, you know. If a song is moving me to play like that, I'm still very much young in here. So if my brain is telling me to do that, then my body just needs to accept the fact that you got to do it. You know, you let's go, come on. So if the song calls for it, I will definitely push it to the next level. Because, I mean, if you go see the Rolling Stones this year, Charlie Watts is in his 70s or something, right? And he's up there doing it. That's inspiring to me. I just think you stay in shape, you stay young in your heart and in your head, you stay current. You know, I still listen to new things that are coming out. You know, my daughter gets in the car and she'll play something and I'll be like, oh, that's cool. I like that. That's a good song. So I'm always open for everything, you know, and anything.
Musician, but you're also an illustrator. Can I say illustrator or painter or what is it?
All.
All. You do it all. Okay. And I wonder, from my own experience, if you can have different outlets in different art forms from one inspiration. You know what I mean? Like that one feeling you have. Can it be a song? Can it be drums? Can it be a painting? Or can it be first painting and then the drums? Mm. You know what I mean?
Because yes. Well, there was a few times throughout the career, I've done things that were either in the art field as far as painting. I've done things where we've done a movie soundtrack. We worked with John Carpenter on a movie called Ghost of Mars, and he wanted us to do the soundtrack for it. And we spent a week in the studio with him watching dailies of the movie and then being inspired by what we just saw to create something. And we created different pieces of music for that. And I felt it was the most fun I ever had creating in the studio, like boom, right away. You know, it was spontaneous. So the scenes were dictating the vibe and the mood and the sound. And to me, that was one of the greatest things, to do it that way. Another thing that I love to do, if I have time to go into cities that I'm on tour with, I love graffiti art. And I love just walking and seeing walls that were created by these great artists. That to me is inspiring because I see how much it's evolved as far as the style and how they're doing it nowadays. It's not just, spray paint on a wall anymore. It's always been art to me, but nowadays it's become just striking, like some of the stuff that I see. And I'm completely blown away by it. And I get an inspiration after I see that too, to go and try and create something of myself, But usually, going back to the Anthrax art for album covers or even T-shirts, it takes a while for me to get a concept in my head. I need to have at least 6 songs written, and then I see where it's going, and then boom, something just comes to my mind and start to develop it that way. With the last 3-4 records that we did, I was trying to tell a bit of a story with each album cover. And then this next one, I have this concept in mind that will probably use some of the old school painting, like from old circus and like magicians and stuff like that style of art. I always loved the Houdini artwork that they would do for Houdini, appearing and all that stuff. It just had a cool element to it, and also a kind of a creepy element. So I want to try and do something like that.
How was it to realize how this business works for you, if you can answer this?
I think back in the day when you're young and you have no experience, you are more vulnerable for people to come in and try and take more control. And when you're younger, no experience, you kind of relinquish, okay, do this for me, And you trust this person enough to guide your career. And then sometimes it goes south because some people get ripped off that way because they weren't paying attention to everything. But when you're younger, it's really hard to pay attention to it, because if it happens for you and it's happening, and you're getting all this attention, then you think, oh yeah, it's got to be working. We got to be making money too, But for us, I remember we didn't start to make money till like our 3rd album. Then we could start to have a salary, you know what I mean? You start to make a living doing this. But before that, everything that we made went back into the band. So nowadays, we basically have a manager who's also a friend, and we work together. We manage the band together. So everything that happens, mostly everything that happens, we know where it's going, So when we finish a tour, we know how much was spent, how much was made. Okay, great, you know what I mean? Have an idea of what is coming in. To me, nowadays is the best that we've ever dealt with the business side of things, because another thing that you need to do is you need to have a relationship with your management, with your lawyer, with your accountant, with your record company, with your merchandise company. You need to have a good relationship with all those people. And I remember back in the day, I would always be really close and friendly with the record company, art department and stuff like that, and the people who were marketing the record, because I always wanted them to feel like I wasn't just the guy in the photo that they were sending out. Oh, that's Charlie. He comes up here. You know, I wanted to have that relationship with them so that at the end of the day, they looked at us as, you know, I like those guys, you know, we're working with them. It's always important to have a good relationship with the people who are working with you and for you.
What personal problems could you overcome through music?
I could tell you that a couple of years ago, I went through a difficult time with our mom got sick, and then she passed away. And I remember during that time, I couldn't listen to anything or do anything that was kind of related to things that would remind me of it. And it took a while for me to get back to that place where I could listen to something that didn't remind me of that or just my mom. Because my mom was one of those people that when I was 5, we lost our dad. My dad passed away. So for me, my mom was everything growing up. My mother would take me to every movie that I wanted to see when I was little, buy me any record I wanted. Just, she was always the person that was there for me and always in my corner. So that period when she passed away was really, really difficult. And I remember nothing sounded good to me. And I remember I had to take some time away from the band because I just didn't feel it. I just didn't want to do it anymore. I needed some time to just kind of get over it. And then one day, certain things started to sound good again. And time just kind of helped that. So, yeah, I think that was a darker period for me that I still think about it sometimes too. I remember myself physically in the early 90s, I started to develop a problem with carpal tunnel. And I would be playing a show and then all of a sudden my hand would just go numb. I couldn't feel the stick in my hand anymore. And after I finished the one song, I would have to shake my hand to get feeling again. I've had ice buckets where I stuck my hand in ice and then, okay, it gets me through another 2-3 songs. It was becoming more and more difficult to play a full show. And then finally I had to stop and I had to get an operation done. It 100% better. Sometimes when I'm playing too many shows in a row, start to get a little fatigued, and I can't do that. I cannot damage this anymore. And then 2 years ago, I hurt my back, and I went the whole last summer on tour playing in pain. It was so bad. I was getting pain all the way down my leg, and it hurt so bad when I was playing, but it hurt worse when I finished playing. And I did the whole tour in the summer like that. And then we had a tour here in November, December. It was us and Slayer. And I started the tour and then I couldn't finish it. I couldn't do it anymore. I was in so much pain. So I said, I have to get this fixed. So I left and went home and got the operation. And now it's so much better. Occasional pain here and there, but nothing like it was. So, but for me, it was the opposite. I wanted to get back and play because I was hating the way I was playing because I was suffering. You know, when an easy part was coming up and then, oh, fuck, that fucking hurt so bad, you know? but you can't show everybody that you're in pain, so you just kind of play through it. And then afterwards, I would just try and get acupuncture, massage, everything. I tried everything every day, and nothing was really fixing it. I mean, we're athletes, especially drummers. We're doing everything and anything. We're using everything, So if one part is in pain, it's going to affect the rest of the parts.
Who and or what makes you or made you play better? A feeling or maybe that bandmate or that teacher or whatever. What is it that makes you or has made you become a better performer?
I mean, I think everything, I'll throw everything in the hat that everything in that hat that I'm putting in makes me better, makes me play better. Inspiration from something I just heard, inspiration from a show that I saw where that drummer did something that completely made my head spin, or a guitar player as well. Because a lot of times when I'm home, I'm just playing guitar, writing songs, and the thing that I notice the most is I'm very percussive when I play guitar because it's that drummer.
Sure.
So I'm doing the, without even knowing it, I'm playing drums on the guitar, So I will get inspired by a guitar lick too. That helps me because I want to match that with the drum pattern. There's been quite a few things that I've loved through the years that have, made me go, "Oh, that's cool." I love the way the kick pattern followed the rhythm of the guitar. I always liked that song by Miss Sugar, "Bleed," where Thomas he follows the guitar riff. It's fucking awesome. It's relentless. That's the one thing I love about drumming. It's fucking relentless.
Yeah, Thomas Hawke is someone who made me play better. Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
He's definitely one of those guys who thinks really well.
But he always claims that he doesn't think at all. Whenever you ask him, how did you do
it takes some thought. It would take some thought to do that.
Yeah, probably.
And some practice.
Of course he's a fucking liar.
Hey, this has been Charlie with Anthrax, and I really enjoyed sitting down talking to you about all things drumming, art. Did we talk about food? No, I don't think we talked about food. But I enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.